Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. So today's lesson, guys, will be looking at Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 31, If This Be My Destiny. Now, this is the first part of a three-part story arc that is one of the most famous in all of Spider-Man's history, and it's definitely the most famous story that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko did together. And yeah, it should be a really good video. And as we look at part 1, keep in mind that part 2 and part 3, which are in issues 32 and 33, are going to be up right after this video, so be sure to check those out as well. And yeah, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So this story basically starts off with the master planner sending his henchmen to, I guess, leave a delivery to his hidden base underwater, and Spider-Man comes in to try to foil their plans. And during the battle with the henchmen of the master planner, they basically are able to send the cargo down into the underwater base by going in and diving, I guess, and putting it inside the base for the master planner. This will be important for later on. Spider-Man continues to have his battle with the henchmen and eventually gets himself out of the helicopter that they're in and uses his webbing to basically swing himself out of there and basically foiling the plans, at least in his mind, of the henchmen of the master planner. Now, Peter is at home with Aunt May whenever she actually falls down and is shown to be ill in front of Peter, and Peter gets a doctor to come over and look over her, and he basically tells her and Peter that he's gonna have to send her to the hospital, so he calls her to the hospital to basically pick up Aunt May, and Aunt May basically is in the hospital now and awaiting results for what exactly happened to her. So Peter basically goes home and thinks about everything that might be happening with his aunt, and he goes into school the next day. This is where we're introduced to Harry Osborn, which will be a very important character and will become Peter's best friend in the next few issues, I'm guessing. And they basically don't see eye to eye with their first interactions because Peter's being distracted by his aunt basically being sick. And Peter basically ignores Liz Allen. Not Liz Allen, Gwen Stacy. He ignores Gwen Stacy, which is another new character introduced in this issue, which will become Peter Parker's love interest pretty soon in the next few issues. And yeah, it's pretty interesting because he doesn't really give her the time of day, and showing some growth on Peter's part and not being as, easy to be overtaken by people as back then. Harry, Flash, and Gwen don't like this, so they pull a prank on Peter, basically getting him in trouble with the professor. And Gwen doesn't really like that they got Peter in trouble, so they do offer for Peter to basically go out for a soda with them after school, but Peter basically doesn't even acknowledge him, and he basically leaves to go see his Aunt May in a hurry. And they basically don't know what's going on with Peter, so they just assume he's being rude to them, and it's pretty interesting to see. Now Peter goes and he talks to the doctor and realizes that, whatever is happening to Aunt May is not good, and that he's going to need money to pay her medical bills, so he's going off to try to see if there's any crimes to basically cash in with J. Jonah Jameson. Now, Ned and Betty basically have a conversation. It seems like Betty hasn't given Ned an answer on if she's going to marry him yet, so we'll see what exactly is going to go on with that plot point. And Peter basically is still interacting with his classmates in the same way, making Gwen Stacy feel inferior and not used to men basically not acknowledging her and her appearance and her existence. So Peter basically just blowing her off every time. It's pretty funny. And eventually Peter talks to Foswell, who is in his patch identity, and gets a tip on where exactly a crime could be happening. So he goes off to basically see this crime, and he gets into a conflict with the henchmen of the master planner, and I guess he defeats them and stuff, and they basically dive into the water yet again, which gives another hint of their underwater base. So Peter basically was able to get some snapshots, I believe, of the situation, and he basically goes in the water, and he, I guess, wasn't able to find anything when it came to the Master Planner's base. At least he hasn't found it yet. And the issue ends with the Doctor basically saying that he has to run the test twice because it seems like whatever Aunt May has is gonna do her in, and it seems pretty bad for Peter and for Aunt May's condition. And we'll see if Peter can find a way to save Aunt May and what his reaction will be when it's revealed what exactly is happening to Aunt May in the next issue. And yeah, that was Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's The Amazing Spider-Man issue 31. If This Be My Destiny, part 1 of a 3-issue story arc. And yeah, overall, for the first part in this story arc was really good. And you definitely are going to enjoy issues 2 and 3. They definitely are more action-packed. They have a lot of story developments and plot developments that you're going to enjoy very much. And it's definitely one of the most iconic story arcs in all of Spider-Man's history. And it's definitely the most greatest achievement in Steve Ditko and Stan Lee's run. So we'll definitely be continuing this in the next 2 videos, and yeah, the story will conclude in the next 2 videos. But the next video, guys, God bless you. Until next listen, keep on reading those comments.